Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Today, we're embarking on a journey through deep time to an Earth ruled by giants. Long before the first cities rose, and long before the written word, our planet was a theater for creatures of truly mind-boggling size. We aren't just talking about dinosaurs. We're talking about a world with dragonflies that had the wingspan of a modern hawk, millipedes as long as a car, and snakes that could stretch across a school bus with room to spare. These weren't monsters from myths. They were real animals, sculpted by the unique conditions of a prehistoric world. So the big question is, how did they get so massive? What was the recipe for a giant? The answer isn't a single, simple explanation, but rather a fascinating interplay of environmental factors, evolutionary pressures, and sheer opportunity. Let's start with the very air these creatures breathed. One of the most significant factors, particularly for the colossal insects of the Paleozoic era, was the composition of the atmosphere. Around 300 million years ago, during the Carboniferous and Permian periods, oxygen levels in Earth's atmosphere are believed to have been as high as 35%. To put that in perspective, we breathe air that is about 21% oxygen today. This oxygen-rich environment was a game-changer for arthropods, the group that includes insects, spiders, and crustaceans. You see, insects don't have lungs like we do. They rely on a network of tiny, branching tubes called tracheae, which passively deliver oxygen directly to their tissues. In our current atmosphere, the efficiency of this system puts a hard limit on how big an insect can get. But in the high-octane air of the Carboniferous, this respiratory system was supercharged. More oxygen could diffuse more deeply and efficiently into their bodies, allowing them to break through the size barriers that constrain their modern relatives and grow to enormous proportions. But it wasn't just the air. The prehistoric world was also the stage for a relentless evolutionary arms race between predators and prey. This is a classic cycle of coevolution. A plant eater evolves to be a little bigger, making it harder for predators to take down. In response, the predators that are slightly larger and more powerful have a better chance of catching this bigger prey, so they survive and pass on their genes. This cycle repeats over millions of years, with both hunter and hunted escalating in size. This dynamic is a recurring theme that sculpted not just dinosaurs, but countless other giant forms throughout prehistory. Furthermore, the world itself was different. Vast, lush landscapes, especially during periods like the Carboniferous, provided a seemingly endless all-you-can-eat buffet for giant herbivores, providing the raw fuel needed for their immense growth. And finally, many of these creatures developed incredible anatomical innovations. Think of the lightweight yet incredibly strong, hollow bones of giant flying pterosaurs, or the highly efficient, one-way respiratory systems of sauropod dinosaurs, which allowed them to extract maximum oxygen while keeping their massive bodies from overheating. These factors, high oxygen, an evolutionary arms race, abundant food, and specialized anatomy, created a perfect storm, a recipe for gigantism. So let's travel back to that oxygen-rich Carboniferous period, from about 359 to 299 million years ago, and meet some of these giants. Picture a humid, alien-looking swamp filled with towering tree ferns and mosses instead of the flowering plants we see today. The buzzing you hear in the air isn't from a pesky fly, it's the sound of Meganeura. This was a genus of griffinfly, an ancient relative of the dragonfly, but on an entirely different scale. With a wingspan that could stretch up to 2.5 feet or 75 centimeters, Meganeura was one of the largest flying insects ever to exist. Its name literally means large-veined, a nod to the intricate network supporting its massive wings. Fossils of this incredible creature were first discovered in France in 1880, giving us our first glimpse into this world of giant bugs. Meganeura was a formidable aerial predator. It had enormous compound eyes for spotting prey, powerful toothed mandibles for chewing, and a set of spiny legs that it would hold together to form a flying basket. allowing it to snatch other insects and even small amphibians right out of the air. While it was an agile flyer, its wing beat frequency was much slower than that of modern dragonflies, a more majestic but equally deadly hunter of the Carboniferous skies. A close relative, Meganeuropsis, was similar in size, with a body length of about 18.5 inches or 47 centimeters. But this reign of the giant insects couldn't last forever. The evolution of new, highly maneuverable flying vertebrates, such as early reptiles and later birds, introduced fierce competition and new predators. As the Permian period came to a close, atmospheric oxygen levels also began to decline, and the unique conditions that allowed these insect titans to flourish slowly faded into history. Of course, the giants weren't just in the air. Crawling on the damp forest floor of the Carboniferous was a creature that might be the stuff of nightmares for some, Arthropleura. This was a giant millipede, and when I say giant, I mean it. Reaching lengths of up to 8.5 feet, or nearly 2.6 meters, and a width of almost 2 feet, Arthropleura holds the title for the largest known land-dwelling arthropod of all time. Recent fossil finds in England, showing a segment of an individual, confirmed this car-sized scale. These creatures roamed the equatorial forests of what is now Europe and North America, but despite its terrifying appearance, evidence suggests Arthropleura wasn't a predator. Fossilized trackways show it navigating through the forest floor, and analysis of its gut contents suggests it was a peaceful herbivore or detritivore, munching on decaying plant matter, nuts, and seeds. Much like Meganeura, its enormous size was likely made possible by the high oxygen levels of the period, and it seems to have had few, if any, predators. Now let's jump forward in time, long after the dinosaurs have vanished. We arrive in the Paleocene epoch, about 60 million years ago. The world was recovering from the asteroid impact, and in the hot, humid, swampy jungles of South America, a new kind of giant was taking over. In the vast coal mines of modern-day Colombia, scientists unearthed the fossilized vertebrae of Titanoboa, the largest snake ever discovered. This colossal serpent could grow up to 50 feet long, or about 15 meters, and weighed over a ton, more than a modern bison. To survive, this cold-blooded giant needed the incredibly warm, stable climate of the Paleocene tropics, with an average temperature of around 30 to 34 degrees Celsius. It's believed Titanoboa was a non-venomous constrictor, like a modern anaconda, but it likely hunted more like a crocodile, ambushing giant turtles and crocodilians from the murky depths of the rivers it called home. And speaking of crocodiles, they had their own prehistoric heavyweight champion. Meet Sarcosuchus imperator, a name that means flesh crocodile emperor, but it's better known by its nickname, Supercroc. Living during the early Cretaceous period, about 112 million years ago, this was one of the largest crocodiliforms to have ever lived. It could reach lengths of up to 39 feet, or 12 meters, and weighed an estimated 8 tons. Its skull alone was as long as an adult human is tall, around 5 to 6 feet, and its immense jaw was lined with over 130 teeth. The front teeth were like railroad spikes for grabbing and holding, while the back teeth were designed for crushing. Sarcosuchus was an undisputed apex predator of the rivers of Africa and South America, powerful enough to ambush and drag large dinosaurs that wandered too close to the water's edge to their doom. But the giants weren't confined to the swamps and jungles. Soaring in the skies of the late Miocene, about 6 million years ago over what is now Argentina, was Argentavis magnificens, the magnificent Argentine bird. This was one of the largest flying birds ever known. It belonged to a group of extinct birds called teratorns. Argentavis had a wingspan that could stretch up to 23 feet, or 7 meters. That's twice the size of the wingspan of the Andean condor, one of the largest flying birds today. Standing on the ground, it was as tall as a person. But how does something so heavy fly? Evidence suggests that, like a modern condor, Argentavis was a master glider. It would have used its powerful legs to get a running start, perhaps from a slope, and then ride the thermal air currents that rise from the ground. Once airborne, it could soar effortlessly for hours over the vast Argentine plains, scanning for carrion below. Its powerful beak could tear open hides, but it likely also hunted smaller, live prey. Its strong legs meant it was surprisingly agile on the ground, able to chase down animals when needed. Perhaps the most remarkable and well-documented story of gigantism, however, is the evolutionary journey of the whale. It's a truly incredible tale of a land-dwelling mammal returning to the sea, and, over millions of years, becoming the largest animal our planet has ever known. This epic begins around 50 million years ago, with a creature called Pakicetus. Found in what is now Pakistan and India, Pakicetus was a four-legged, furry mammal, about the size of a modern dog or wolf. It lived along the shores of freshwater rivers and lakes, hunting both small land animals and fish. It looked absolutely nothing like a modern whale. So how do we know it's an ancestor? The giveaway is a unique and dense bony wall around its middle ear, called an involucrum. This feature is a distinctive characteristic found only in cetaceans, the group that includes whales and dolphins, and it's the smoking gun that places Pakicetus at the very beginning of the whale family tree. The next major chapter in this aquatic saga introduces Ambulocetus, whose name literally means walking whale. Living around 49 million years ago, this creature was a perfect intermediate form. At about 11 to 12 feet long, it was semi-aquatic, with large, flipper-like feet that were better suited for paddling than for graceful walking on land. It likely propelled itself through the water with powerful kicks of its hind legs and tail, in a manner similar to a modern sea otter, and probably hunted like a crocodile, ambushing prey from the water's edge. Its nostrils were still near the tip of its snout, but its eyes had moved higher up on its head, another adaptation for a life spent lurking just below the surface. The full transition to a completely aquatic lifestyle was well and truly cemented by the time of Basilosaurus, which lived from about 41 to 34 million years ago. Now, despite its name, which means king lizard, Basilosaurus was all mammal, and a formidable predator at that. This was a true giant, reaching lengths of up to 66 feet, or 20 meters, making it one of the largest animals of its time. Its body was incredibly long and serpentine, beautifully adapted for life in the water, and its powerful jaws were armed with a fearsome set of conical front teeth for grabbing and triangular serrated back teeth for shearing. Fossil evidence is stunningly clear about its diet. The stomach contents of a Basilosaurus have been found containing the remains of sharks, large fish, and even smaller whales, like the 16-foot-long Dorudon. But Basilosaurus still held onto a fascinating clue from its past. It had small, but fully formed vestigial hind limbs, complete with a femur, tibia, fibula, and even toes. These legs were far too small to support its weight on land, but they are a clear anatomical echo, a reminder of its land-dwelling ancestors. However, the path to gigantism wasn't a simple straight line for all whales. Evolution is more of a branching bush than a straight ladder. And recently, a discovery in Australia highlighted this beautifully. Scientists found a species of human-sized prehistoric baleen whale named Gangacetus dillardi. This small whale lived around 26 million years ago. The juvenile specimen discovered would have been only about 6.5 feet long, though adults of its genus could reach up to 11 feet. Described as deceptively cute, this little whale had unusually large eyes and sharp, blade-like teeth, suggesting it was an active visual predator. This creature shows us that early whale evolution was incredibly diverse. Not all lineages were on a one-way track to becoming giants. In fact, the true explosion in whale size, leading to the leviathans we know today, seems to have only started much later, around 5.3 million years ago. Likely driven by changes in ocean currents, that concentrated krill and other food sources into dense, predictable patches. The lost world of prehistoric giants is a powerful testament to the incredible creativity and adaptability of life on Earth. From the oxygen-soaked swamps of the Carboniferous that gave us car-sized millipedes, to the hothouse jungles of the Paleocene that spawned a 50-foot snake, to the warm oceans of the Eocene that witnessed the return of mammals to the sea, different times and different environments gave rise to their own unique titans. Studying these ancient worlds isn't just about marveling at awe-inspiring fossils. It provides us with invaluable insights into the history of our planet, revealing the profound and intricate connections between life, the climate, and the environment. The stories of Arthropleura, Titanoboa, and the walking whales are a crucial reminder that the forces of evolution and environmental change that shaped life in the past continue to shape it today. The tale of the Titans is a grand, unfolding drama, and it proves that our planet's story still has astonishing chapters buried in the rock, just waiting to be unearthed. Thanks for tuning in to G Fun Facts Online.